Have you ever wondered what would happen if the last night bus on a lonely American highway suddenly stopped in the middle of a cursed forest, and every passenger realized that the real nightmare had never boarded the bus because it had been waiting for them all along? The engine roared through the freezing night as the private coach raced across the empty highway. Cold fog rolled over the asphalt while endless black pine trees swallowed every trace of moonlight. The road ahead looked dead. The sky carried no stars. Only darkness stretched for miles. Cole Harrison tightened his grip around the steering wheel. His eyes never stayed in one place for more than a second. Every shadow outside made his heart beat faster. Beside him, Noah Briggs sat silently holding the ticket machine. For nearly 20 minutes, neither of them had spoken a single word. Both men knew they were getting closer to the place every driver feared. Raven Creek Forest, a place where people disappeared without leaving behind a single footprint, a place where emergency calls always ended with screaming, a place where even police officers refused to patrol after midnight. Inside the bus, the atmosphere was completely different. Most passengers had no idea where they were heading. Tyler Brooks leaned closer to Avery Collins with a smile on his face. "Tonight belongs to us. After this trip, I promise I will take you somewhere even more beautiful." Avery laughed softly and rested her head against his shoulder. Across the aisle, Pastor Samuel Hayes looked away with an annoyed expression. "Young people have forgotten how to behave in public." Helen Hayes gently smiled before whispering, "Let them enjoy their happiness, Samuel. Life becomes shorter than we think." The old pastor sighed and folded his arms. A few rows behind them sat several strangers quietly staring through the windows. None of them noticed the man sitting alone in the very last seat. He wore a dark gray hoodie. His face stayed hidden beneath the shadow of the hood. His hands rested calmly on a black travel bag. Unlike everyone else, he never looked outside. He never looked nervous. He simply waited, as though he already knew what this journey would become. Cole suddenly broke the silence. "Noah, after the next stop we do not slow down for anyone. No matter who stands on the road. No matter what happens." Noah slowly nodded. "I understand. We keep driving until we leave the forest behind. No stops. No exceptions." A heavy silence filled the front of the bus. Only the sound of the engine echoed through the darkness. A few minutes later, distant lights revealed a lonely roadside shelter. One woman stood there holding a small suitcase. She was the only person waiting in the middle of nowhere. Cole swallowed hard. Noah looked at him with fear in his eyes. "This is the last passenger. After this, we enter Raven Creek Forest." Cole slowly pressed the brakes. The bus stopped beside the lonely roadside shelter. The cold wind howled across the empty highway. The young woman stepped closer carrying a small black suitcase. She had long brown hair, bright blue eyes, and a calm smile that somehow felt out of place in the freezing darkness. She climbed aboard without saying a word. For a brief second, every passenger looked at her. Even Tyler forgot what he was saying. Noah forced a smile. "Welcome aboard. Where are you heading?" "Ashwood Falls," she replied softly. Noah handed her the ticket. The bus door closed. Cole immediately pressed the accelerator. Within seconds, the highway disappeared behind a wall of thick fog. The young woman slowly walked toward the back. Several empty seats were available near the front, but she ignored every one of them. Instead, she chose a seat near the silent man wearing the gray hoodie. He never looked at her. He never moved. He simply kept staring toward the dark window. The woman glanced at him for several seconds, then quietly sat 2 rows away. Her name was Claire Bennett. She placed the suitcase beside her feet. Something about the man in the hoodie made her uneasy. Meanwhile, Noah returned to the front. He leaned closer to Cole and whispered, "We crossed the warning marker." Cole looked ahead. A faded wooden sign appeared beside the road. "Welcome to Raven Creek Forest. Travel at your own risk." The sign disappeared behind the bus. Almost immediately, the temperature inside dropped. Several passengers rubbed their arms. Helen frowned. "Why is it suddenly so cold?" Pastor Samuel looked outside. "This place feels wrong. Very wrong." Ryan laughed nervously. "It is just a forest. People make up ghost stories everywhere." Before anyone could answer, a loud animal cry echoed deep between the trees. It sounded nothing like a wolf, nothing like a bear. It sounded almost human. The entire bus became silent. Claire slowly turned toward the window. For 1 second, she thought she saw someone standing between the trees. A tall figure, perfectly still, watching the bus. Then it vanished. She blinked. There was nothing there anymore. At the back of the bus, the man in the gray hoodie quietly looked down at the watch on his wrist. A tiny red light flashed once, then disappeared. He whispered so softly that nobody heard him. "Too early. It found us already." At that exact moment, the bus lights flickered once, then again, then everything became completely silent except for the sound of the engine. Far behind them, hidden inside the endless darkness, something began following the bus. The passengers tried to ignore the strange feeling growing inside the bus. Some looked at their phones, some stared through the windows, others pretended nothing was wrong. Outside, the fog became thicker with every mile. Even the headlights could barely cut through the darkness. Cole tightened both hands around the steering wheel. He could hardly see the road anymore. Noah looked at the dashboard. The GPS screen suddenly turned black. A second later, the radio switched on by itself. Only loud static filled the bus. Then a weak voice came through. "Turn back, turn back, turn back." The voice disappeared. Noah quickly switched the radio off. Nobody said a word. Avery slowly grabbed Tyler's hand. "Did you hear that?" Tyler forced a smile. Probably someone playing with the signal. But even he did not believe his own words. Suddenly, the bus hit a deep bump. Everyone jumped in their seats. Claire looked outside again. This time she clearly saw someone running between the trees, keeping the same speed as the bus. Impossible. Nobody could run that fast. She rubbed her eyes. The figure was gone. At the very back, the man in the gray hoodie quietly opened his travel bag just enough to look inside. Instead of clothes, several strange metal devices rested inside. Silver blades covered with ancient symbols, small glass capsules filled with glowing blue liquid, a strange black mask, and a folded crossbow unlike anything sold in stores. He calmly closed the bag again. Nobody noticed. Without warning, two women wearing oversized hooded jackets stood up from the middle seats. They had remained silent since the journey began. One slowly smiled. The other locked the emergency exit. Then both removed their jackets. Hidden beneath them were black tactical vests. One pulled out a short shotgun. The other revealed a heavy hunting knife. Screams exploded across the bus. "Everybody stay exactly where you are," the woman holding the shotgun shouted. Nobody moved. Nobody screamed, or the first body hits the floor. Cole froze behind the wheel. Noah slowly raised both hands. Pastor Samuel closed his eyes and whispered a prayer. Tyler instinctively moved in front of Avery. Claire stepped backward until her legs touched her seat. Only one passenger never reacted. The man in the gray hoodie remained perfectly still, watching, waiting. The armed woman noticed him. "You in the back, look at me. Slowly raise your hands." The man finally lifted his head. A cold, emotionless pair of eyes stared directly at her. For the first time since the journey began, he smiled. A smile that somehow made even the armed criminals uncomfortable. The woman with the shotgun pointed the barrel directly at the man in the gray hoodie. "Stand up now." Slowly, the man obeyed without saying a word. He stood in the narrow aisle with both hands visible. His face remained completely calm. The second criminal laughed while spinning the hunting knife in her hand. "Search his bag," the shotgun woman ordered. One of the masked criminals walked toward the back. She grabbed the black travel bag and unzipped it. For a second she frowned. Inside were only ordinary clothes, a flashlight, a water bottle, and a few travel supplies. Nothing unusual. She threw the bag back onto the seat. The passengers slowly released the breath they had been holding. The man looked completely harmless. The criminal smirked. "Sit down. Do not make me ask twice." The man quietly sat back in his seat. His expression never changed. Meanwhile, the leader stepped into the center aisle. "Listen carefully. This bus belongs to us now. Every phone, every wallet, every piece of jewelry goes into this bag. Anyone who refuses dies first." No one argued. Fear had already broken everyone. Tyler slowly handed over his wallet. Avery removed the necklace her grandmother had given her. Helen placed her wedding ring into the bag with trembling hands. Pastor Samuel lowered his head without speaking. Claire clutched her suitcase tightly. The leader noticed. "You? Give me the suitcase." Claire shook her head. "Number, please. Not this. It belongs to my little sister." The criminal slapped her across the face. The suitcase fell onto the floor. Claire collapsed beside it. Tears filled her eyes. The leader picked it up. Before she could open it, a loud metallic sound echoed from outside. Bang! Something heavy landed on the roof. Every passenger froze. Another impact, this time even stronger. The entire bus shook. Cole nearly lost control of the steering wheel. Noah looked toward the ceiling. His face turned pale. "It found us." The leader grabbed him by the collar. "Who found us? Answer me." Noah could barely breathe. "You should never stop inside Raven Creek Forest. Nobody survives after midnight." A long scratching sound slowly moved across the roof, like enormous claws dragging over metal. Everyone looked upward. Nobody dared to breathe. Then, every light inside the bus went out. Complete darkness swallowed everything. Only the emergency exit sign glowed faintly in the black silence. And somewhere above them, something smiled. No one moved. No one even dared to breathe. The darkness inside the bus felt alive. Only the faint red glow from the emergency exit painted terrified faces. Then, a slow knocking echoed from the roof. 1, 2, 3. The sound stopped. A deep silence followed. Suddenly, something scraped across every window at the same time. Long sharp claws dragged over the glass. The horrible sound pierced every ear. Claire covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. Avery buried her face against Tyler. Pastor Samuel whispered another prayer. Cole gripped the steering wheel so tightly his fingers turned white. The leader fired one shot through the roof. The deafening blast echoed through the forest. Everything became silent again, for 3 long seconds. Then, a loud laugh came from outside. Not human, not animal, something far worse. The sound circled the bus from every direction. No one could tell where it was standing. The second criminal began shaking. "There is someone out there," the leader shouted back. "Shut up. There is nobody." Before she finished speaking, a massive force slammed against the side of the bus. Glass exploded across the aisle. Passengers screamed. Cold air rushed inside. A huge shadow flashed past the broken window, too fast for anyone to see clearly. Only 2 glowing crimson eyes remained visible for a single heartbeat. Then they disappeared. The leader pointed the shotgun toward the broken window. "Show yourself, coward." Nothing answered, only the wind. Then Noah whispered, "Do not look outside. If it knows you can see it, it chooses you next." The criminals laughed nervously. The leader grabbed Noah by the shirt. "Enough with your ghost stories." She pressed the shotgun against his forehead. "Tell everyone it is just an animal. Now." Before Noah could answer, a small electronic sound echoed from the back. Beep, beep, beep. Every head turned. The man in the gray hoodie slowly looked down at the watch on his wrist. A bright red warning flashed across the screen. Unknown entity detected. Distance 5 meters. Closing fast. The mysterious man quietly stood up. For the first time, his calm expression disappeared. His eyes became cold and focused. He reached beneath his seat, not for his travel bag, but for a hidden black case strapped underneath the bus seat. The locks clicked open. Inside rested strange silver weapons covered with ancient symbols. Claire stared at him in complete shock. "Who are you?" The man looked toward the shattered window, then spoke in a calm, steady voice. "My name is Damien Wolf, and if everyone wants to see sunrise, do exactly as I say, because the thing hunting this bus is not human anymore." The entire bus fell silent. Every pair of eyes locked onto Damien. Even the armed criminals forgot about the passengers. The black case lay open beside him. Inside rested silver blades glowing with faint blue symbols. Small glass capsules filled with shimmering liquid. A compact crossbow, and a strange metal device shaped like a compass. The leader laughed. "What is this? Some kind of movie costume?" Damien ignored her. He picked up the metal compass. The needle spun wildly before stopping toward the front windshield. His expression darkened. "It is inside the forest no longer. It is inside the bus." A chill ran through every passenger. Claire slowly stepped backward. "What do you mean?" Damien answered without looking at her. "It entered before we reached the forest. It has been hiding among us." Nobody spoke. Everyone slowly looked at each other. Fear spread faster than fire. The second criminal grabbed Claire by the arm. "He is lying. He wants to distract us." Damien calmly loaded a silver bolt into the crossbow. "If I wanted you dead, you would already be dead." Suddenly, the compass needle began spinning again. Faster, faster. Then it pointed directly toward the center aisle. Damien shouted, "Everyone get down." Instantly he fired. The glowing silver bolt flew across the bus. Instead of hitting a passenger, it struck empty air. A horrifying scream exploded through the darkness. A shape suddenly appeared. Tall, twisted. Its skin looked burned black. Its mouth stretched from ear to ear. Rows of broken yellow teeth filled its grin. Long arms scraped against the ceiling. Its glowing eyes burned like hot coals. Several passengers screamed uncontrollably. The creature vanished again. Only thick black smoke remained floating inside the bus. The leader fired wildly. Every bullet passed through empty space. "Worthless," Damien shouted. "Bullets cannot kill it." The creature suddenly appeared behind the second criminal. Before anyone could warn him, a giant claw burst through his chest. Blood sprayed across the windows. The creature lifted him into the air like a rag doll. His scream ended as his body split in half. The remaining criminal dropped the shotgun. For the first time, pure terror covered her face. The monster laughed, a sound so horrifying that every passenger covered their ears. Damien grabbed one glowing capsule. He smashed it onto the floor. Blue light exploded through the bus. The creature screamed again. Its invisible body became visible for a few seconds. Damien tightened his grip on the silver blade. "Stay behind me. This ends tonight." The blue light slowly faded. The creature stood in the center of the bus. Its body twisted unnaturally. Its skin looked like burned charcoal. Long white hair hung over its shoulders. Its glowing eyes never blinked. Every breath it took filled the bus with freezing air. Nobody dared move. Damien slowly stepped forward. The silver blade in his hand began glowing brighter. The creature smiled. Its voice echoed from every corner of the bus. "You hunted me for years. Tonight you die with everyone else." Damien never answered. He quietly removed a small silver pendant from around his neck. The symbols carved into it began shining like fire. The creature suddenly stopped smiling. It recognized the pendant. For the first time, it looked afraid. Damien whispered ancient words under his breath. The symbols covering the blade burst into brilliant blue flames. The creature charged forward with unbelievable speed. Damien moved at the exact same moment. Both disappeared into the darkness. Metal crashed against razor-sharp claws. The entire bus shook violently. Windows exploded. Seats tore apart. Passengers hid beneath anything they could find. Claire watched in complete shock. Only flashes of blue light and red eyes could be seen inside the darkness. Then, everything became silent. A single heartbeat later, the creature screamed louder than ever before. Damien drove the glowing blade deep into its chest. The monster tried to pull away, but blue chains of light burst from the blade, wrapping around its entire body. The creature roared as its skin cracked apart. Bright blue light poured from every wound. Its body slowly turned into black ash. Within seconds, nothing remained except cold gray dust blowing across the highway. Silence returned. The freezing air disappeared. The forest became strangely peaceful. One by one the surviving passengers stood up. Nobody could believe they were still alive. Claire looked at Damien. "You saved all of us. Who are you really?" Damien closed the black case. "Just someone who goes where nightmares begin. Far away." Police sirens echoed through the mountains. Damien looked toward the approaching lights. Without another word, he walked into the thick fog beside the highway. Within seconds, he completely vanished. When the police reached the bus, the survivors searched everywhere, but there were no footprints, no trace of Damien. Only the strange silver pendant remained on the driver's seat. Hours later, a secure phone inside an unknown headquarters began ringing. "Mission Raven Creek completed," a calm voice answered. "Good. Your next assignment is already waiting. Location: Blackwater, Louisiana. Target: the Smiling Witch." Damien picked up his bag, pulled the hood over his head, and disappeared into the darkness once again. 3 days after the Raven Creek Forest incident, the news channels across Utah were filled with strange reports. A missing passenger bus had been found abandoned on US Route 14. Officials had no explanation for what happened inside. They found damaged seats, broken windows, and strange marks carved into the metal walls. But there was one thing nobody could explain. There were no bodies of the criminals, no evidence of the creature, and no sign of the mysterious man who saved everyone. The survivors told the same story again and again. A man named Damien Wolf fought something that was not from this world. But when investigators searched his name, they found nothing. No records, no history, no photograph. It was as if Damien Wolf had never existed. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, in a dark underground room, Damien stood in front of a large screen. The screen showed different locations across America. Each location had a red warning symbol. He opened a file marked Unnatural Entities. Inside were hundreds of cases: ghosts, cursed objects, ancient creatures, and supernatural threats hidden from ordinary people. A voice came through the communication device. Raven Creek was only the beginning. Damien looked at the next mission file. The image on the screen showed an abandoned town covered in darkness. The file name appeared: Blackwater Hollow. Damien closed the file. Another nightmare was waiting. He picked up his black case and walked toward the exit. Before leaving, he looked back at the wall filled with pictures of creatures he had defeated. Then he quietly said, "As long as darkness exists, someone has to hunt it." The door closed behind him, and Damien Wolf disappeared into the night. Because some battles are never finished, they only move to a new location. The rain poured heavily over the empty streets of Blackwater Hollow, a forgotten town hidden deep inside the Louisiana swamps. Most people had abandoned the place years ago. They said the town was cursed. They said anyone who entered after sunset heard voices calling their names from empty houses. Damien Wolf stood beside an old wooden bridge looking toward the silent town. His black coat moved with the cold wind. The communication device in his hand started flashing. Warning: unknown energy level increasing. Damien looked at the dark buildings ahead. A small smile appeared on his face. He already knew. Something inside that town was waiting for him. Slowly he opened his black case. The same silver blade that destroyed the creature of Raven Creek was placed inside. But this time, he carried something more powerful. A strange black crystal covered with ancient marks. His mission details appeared on the screen. Entity name: the Smiling Witch. Last seen: Blackwater Hollow. Threat level: extreme. Damien closed the device. He stepped onto the broken road leading into the town. As he walked forward, every street light around him turned on one by one, not because of electricity, but because something was watching him. From the second floor of an abandoned house, a woman wearing an old black dress stood behind the window. Her face was hidden in darkness, but her smile was clearly visible, a smile that stretched far beyond what any human face could make. She whispered, "The ghost hunter has arrived." Damien stopped walking. He slowly looked toward the house. For the first time in many years, a dangerous enemy had found him before he found it. The woman disappeared from the window, and the entire town went completely dark. Damien tightened his grip on the silver blade. The real hunt was about to begin. So this is the story. Follow Nightmare Files for more horror and creepy scary stories.